Law and Order SVU Winter Premiere Recap, 10826. Season 27, Episode 9, Purity. Here is your Law and Order SVU recap for the brand new Thursday, January 8, 2026 episode that premieres tonight on NBC. According to the NBC synopsis for tonight's Law and Order SVU Season 27, Episode 9, Purity, the hunt for a murder suspect uncovers a crime with shocking legal and ethical implications. During a raid on a suspect's residence, Bruno has to keep his team safe. When Brady's interrogation techniques weaken the case, Carasy and Price band together in court. For our Law and Order SVU recap, be sure to bookmark this page and return between 9 and 10 p.m. ET. Check out all of our Law and Order SVU recaps, spoilers, news, and more while you wait for the recap. The Law and Order SVU recap for tonight starts now. Check the page frequently for the most recent information. The Special Victims Unit's collaborative operation with Homicide went awry in tonight's Law and Order SVU episode. The detectives were ensnared in an IED blast. Detective Bruno almost died in the ambulance after being perforated by shrapnel. He was rescued by his commander. She kept the wound stable. Bruno made it to the hospital without incident. He was hurried into surgery, and anything may happen. His unit sought justice while he fought for his life. All of this began when the NYPD discovered that a charity was actually a front for human trafficking. To sell their unborn children, they would kidnap pregnant mothers. The whole thing was being driven by a couple. Sarah Tandon, Sergey's wife, a police officer struck Sergey in the face, which simply left the wife. According to her documents, Sarah participated in the entire procedure on an equal basis with her husband. Additionally, they were associated with a group of white supremacists. Bruno was almost killed by the guys responsible for the explosion. Lieutenant Brady and Captain Benson were curious about how they were able to access C4. To question Sarah, they traveled to the prison. She was also not speaking. Sarah denied any responsibility for the human trafficking or the group's conduct. She was attempting to hold Sergey responsible for everything. The abused spouse defense was what she intended to employ. She used police to trial run it. She claimed to know nothing. After she had a deal, she should give whatever she could know. She was the only person who was supposed to be able to assist them, but she remained silent. Rather, she engaged a hotshot lawyer. Hobbs' testimony was thrown out by the lawyer. Sarah was set free without a bail. She really doesn't need to speak at this point. The police had to accommodate her. They discovered that Andrew Wells was the purchaser of the C4. He was taken into custody. As a result, they discovered that the supremacist group included his entire neighborhood. In the middle of the neighborhood, a racist flag was flying. Purchasing so much land, all that C4, and the weapons they have been purchasing in such quantities couldn't have been inexpensive. As it happens, a geneticist purchased it for them. Joseph Dawson is his name. He came from a European household. He is in favor of maintaining the all-white European vision of America. Dawson produces the ideal embryos for affluent customers. He funded his actual work with their money. He was involved in eugenics. In order to elevate the white race, he was attempting to produce the ideal white child. He desired for them to surpass all other races in strength, intelligence, and height. When he purchased embryos on the illicit market for manipulation, it was evident. He was purchasing them from Sarah's fictitious nonprofit. Additionally, he threw away every non-white person. At first, they were unable to connect him to Wells directly or discover his grand scheme. Not until they learned of his assistant's involvement. The assistant told the police what he knew about the covert eugenics operation in an attempt to rescue himself. Technically, a congressional act made it unlawful. In the state of New York, it was just not against the law. He could be turned over to the federal government. It would unlock a door that Ada Price wasn't certain should be unlocked. He was concerned that any action could be exploited and used by activists on the opposing side. He was reluctant to open the door because of this. In order to imprison Dawson for life, he sought to uncover reliable evidence against him. A young daughter had been born to one of the ladies Sarah kidnapped. Because the young girl was not lawfully in the country, she was unable to keep her. Her origins were in the Ukraine. They may send her back there. She was unable to bring a child into a combat zone. She also couldn't remain in the US with such scary people who would permanently silence her. Benson tried her best to encourage her when she decided to place her child for adoption. Polina was afraid of Sarah and did not want to keep her child. She was terrified for all the right reasons. Sarah was a talented actress. She did a great job portraying the mistreated woman. By challenging Karasy's account, she gave the impression that he was bullying her. If it weren't for Dalsan, she may have manipulated the jury. He desired the return of those embryos from the illegal market. In order to regain his property, he was willing to testify against Sarah. In order to literally know where the remains were buried, it seems that he recorded every phone conversation they had. Her first victim wasn't Nadia. Dalsan directed the police to the body-filled field. Sarah gave the order to place them there. During one of their recorded chats, she ordered Nadia to be killed. Dalsan gave a defamatory testimony. The jury was persuaded by it. Sarah was later found guilty of every allegation. Her conviction gave the ladies she took advantage of a sense of security. Polina ultimately made the decision to keep her child when they applied for green cards. Dalsan also learned that the parents were going to kill the embryos. Because they objected to Dalsan's testing of the embryos' legitimate genetic owners requested an injunction. In the end, the judge ruled to order their deletion. Dalsan was in court contesting the ruling. He can afford to keep this battle going long enough to obtain more embryos elsewhere. However, Bruno made it through and was back on his feet. There was some good news. The finish.